Hello friends, Aaron here. I made some videos showing our results of uh, testing masks with an oxygen sensor that will tell you what percentage of your air is oxygen. And then also with another sensor, a CO2 or carbon dioxide sensor, that will tell you how many parts per million you have in your atmosphere of carbon dioxide. Now, I'm not the only one who's made these videos. If you search on YouTube for O2 monitor and even CO2 monitor and masks, you'll get any number of videos, most of which I've seen, especially the ones at the top, that the algorithms really promote. People wearing an O2 sat monitor on their finger and having a monitor showing their oxygen, their blood oxygen saturation levels while they wear a mask or 6 masks or whatever. Now, I don't know how long I started looking into it, but I just don't have any answers for you to speak about it, like I know. How long does it take if you're breathing in too little oxygen before you start to see a change with an O2 sat sensor showing you how well your blood is oxygenated? How well do those sensors even work? How sensitive are they? I don't know. I don't know the answers to those things. I think that the question about oxygen is very important. 20.9 or 21% oxygen is roughly what we've got in our ambient air. And there is a reason. Whatever OSHA added to their website in July, there's a reason why they've said that if you're working in a confined space, and again, I'm in a small apartment that I'm renovating. This is a confined space. If you're in an office building or an underground tank or a cave or whatever, you're in a confined space. If you're in a computer server room or something, OSHA has said that if your oxygen level within that room is below 19.5%, that it's dangerous. It's not good for you. Now they've come out and say that they've come out and said that those standards don't apply to the air under a face mask. And I just wonder what's happened to our critical thinking. I don't wonder. I mean, television and education. Fluoride and all of the things that we do to newborns, to pregnant mothers, expectant mothers, that damages the brains of kids, and then that damage continues on to adulthood. If you've never looked into it, like say what somebody needed to know, like past the 8th grade or something, back in the pioneer days, like when Laura Ingalls was a little girl. Very few of us know those things anymore, and we'd have a difficult time, wrapping our minds around some of it. We haven't been dumbed down, and our IQs are probably considerably lower than what they used to be, and whatever IQ means, but our intelligence by whatever measure is less. Anyhow, critical thinking is, wow, where is it? If in this space my oxygen level was 17.5%, and OSHA would consider, as a man working, if I was working for a company, me in this space to be breathing in unsafe air, that would be immediately an immediate danger to my life and health. And then for them to say, well, it doesn't apply to a smaller space around your face. Okay, I mean, what their statement is that their standards weren't written for that. They don't apply to that, and that's fine. Their standards weren't written about face masks, but why doesn't it logically apply? I think without everybody showing their O2 SAD sensors and everything that comes up with a video showing how wearing a mask doesn't deplete your oxygen is always somebody with an O2 SAD sensor, never somebody actually putting a little hose or a monitor under the mask and showing you that the level drops down below that 19.5%. Never that. The videos that I found, and I've looked for lots of them, where anybody is actually doing that, the meter goes into alarm. Meters that people wear on their belt or on their vest, working in a place where they could potentially have too little oxygen, so that it alarms to tell them that they don't have enough and they need to get out and get fresh air. Where's the critical thinking? We also purchased a CO2 meter, and most of them only go to 10,000 parts per million. Some of them only go to 5,000 parts per million. If you're working anywhere where there's a lot of people, an office building, lots of buildings that don't have necessarily climate control where they're bringing in fresh air, especially like a smaller building that was not necessarily zoned for like heavy commercial, was maybe light commercial, and a lot of sort of residential codes applied, like in the building I'm in right now. This is a commercial building, but these apartments don't have fresh air intakes. So there's a tiny little air conditioning unit back here. There's only 3 vents in the place. There's not even a vent in the bathroom and the vanity area. There's only 3 total windows in this place. And I have been working in here by myself. It's mostly empty. I keep a window cracked because I've brought my CO2 monitor here to see what the level gets at when the air conditioning is running and recirculating the air. If I can't crack a window because it's really humid out or whatever. And it gets pretty high in here. And over 1100 is considered not good air. You get up into the 4,000 or 5,000 parts per million range and you have really bad air. If it gets over 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, then you could really start to see some medical effects, like kind of immediately, not just a buildup. And why do these monitors that are meant to tell you where you're working if you have too much CO2 only go to 5,000 or 10,000 parts per million? That's enough to know that the air is not good. They don't need to go to 80,000 parts per million. You're probably unconscious. They're dead at that point. Every single mask that I've tested, and multiple times I don't know what else to say, I go over 10,000 parts per million, even with the lightest mask that doesn't fit. Where's our critical thinking? There's people who've shown it, that right on the ear loop masks, the paper masks, it says it doesn't prevent viral transmission of illness. It's not going to protect you. We're told we need to wear them because it protects us. We're told to wear them. Well, it's not really about that. It protects others. Don't worry, it's safe. And people just believe it's safe instead of making any effort to find out for themselves. I don't like to keep beating a dead horse, but Teresa and I have a big family. We're trying to renovate our home. It's hard, and life is just not making it easy. I just spent 2 days over the weekend after spending hundreds of dollars taking care of some, issues with my van. And, before that, it was the washing machine I had to buy parts for. Ended up buying another washing machine, Frankenstein another one together, because we go through washing machines. Other things that have popped up that make it hard for me to get some of my work done so I can get paid, whatever. I still spent the money. Some people have more money, and to talk about $300-400 is no big deal. Most of the time for me, $300 or $400 is a big deal. And we spent that on monitors and the, equipment we needed to test for ourselves. Teresa reads and researches, and I read and research everything from medical papers to what the mainstream is saying, try to find the truth in it. And, one of the things that she has found in at least one of her pregnancy books, maybe two, is that pregnant mothers need 20% more oxygen. 20% more oxygen they need to be breathing in for their baby. And that's how they breathe. They breathe to take in more oxygen. Then you're wearing a mask that restricts your oxygen intake. We're not talking about putting a sensor on your finger. We're talking about oxygen intake. And you put a mask on and you put a real sensor up in there, a real monitor, and you check it. I guarantee you're going to see that it is reducing your oxygen. That's a fact, and what you're being told is lies. And if you would just do that for yourself, get your family together, buy an O2 meter. Go to one of these safety sites. I went to one PK Safety or something. You have to buy from Amazon. Jeff Bezos is he's a monster probably, but you can buy them from a safety source. And everybody chip in $20, $25, and buy a monitor and get all your masks together and check them out for yourselves and see. And then make an educated decision, a real educated decision on work that you did, education that you did. But we're being told not to trust ourselves, don't trust our senses. Don't trust how you feel when you put the mask on. Don't trust that. Trust all the talking heads on the black screen that tell you that it's safe. It is not. I put up a video talking about how we're not supposed to do our own research. I don't know what the problem is, but boy, that's one of the problems, is that people trust someone who touts themselves as an expert and a handful of other people who say they're an expert, and don't trust their own senses, what they can see, what they experience in their own life, how they feel with their face covered. Well, I'm told over and over and over again that it's safe, so it must be. It's not safe. It's not safe. It's not just safe. It's not benign. It's not. And it's more than that. I can't wear one. I can't do it. I don't like the way I feel. And that's more than just physical. I know that it's more than that. I know it. And I've shared this before. We went through the struggle. Well, man, if I could find one that I didn't feel was really dangerous, I guess I'll just draw my line a little further down in the sand, And that's the line I won't cross. But I can't cross this line. And I'm watching people not only accepting it, but embracing it. Their personalized masks, Now, a couple of funny things. Teresa saw a guy, he had a shirt on that said resist while he was wearing his face diaper, his shame muzzle, as Brian from my Packed Vlogs calls it. And I saw a guy with a shirt, freedom. I shop, man. I went into one store, I won't tell you about them so nobody reports them, because in our parish we have a, see it, say it reporting, which I have gotten on. I've essentially gone onto that website and prank called them, I won't get into that, but I went to one business. Nobody in there had a shame-faced diaper on their face. And that was pretty awesome. That was pretty refreshing. Every other place, of course, I go, people are wearing them. And sometimes people behind the counter have it pulled down. For a while, I would go into home improvement stores, lumber yards that I shop at regularly for work and for the work I'm doing on the house, and go to auto parts stores and things. And I might see one or two people. It's been a little while since I've seen anybody just straight up not wearing one. I am generally the only one, and Teresa is generally the only one. She went shopping recently, and she got accosted by two managers and somebody else. And she, said her piece and walked away from them and continued her shopping. There was one place where somebody told her they wouldn't check her out. She decided to leave. She probably would have been able to deal with it. She's called corporate. I've called corporate headquarters for a few places. Some places we've had success with, some places we've been completely blown off, like no surprise, Whole Foods has completely blown us off. I've had people put boxes of masks right in front of me, pull on their mask. You're not supposed to touch it as a sign to show me that I should be wearing one. I mean, I ignore them, frankly. Teresa was, when she was shopping, she decided to just kind of mention to a woman she saw who she knew was pregnant, because she just has a passion to talk to pregnant moms about keeping their babies and themselves healthy, and told her that, pregnant moms need 20% more oxygen, and told her that, she could, not wear a mask if she wanted to. It's hard, but she could do it. And she said, "Oh, no, thank you, I'll keep the mask, thanks." And then her husband said that, "Well, it's really interesting how the air under the mask is the same. You have the same oxygen there as you do have around you." And Teresa said, "What? How do you know that? Do you have an oxygen monitor? Have you tried it?" And he didn't say anything. And that prompted me yesterday to spend some time looking again to see if I could find a video, which would be a flat out lie. It would be a lie to show somebody properly using an O2 sensor to check the ambient air and just check the air under your mask and not have that level go down. That would be dishonest. I mean, can I say that 100% for every situation? I mean, I guess not, of course, right? But, if I can test a dozen masks dozens of different times and always get the alarm, always have the monitor alarm because it goes below 19.5%, I'm rightfully pretty convinced, even though I'm not supposed to do my own research when it comes to science. I'm not supposed to trust my own intellect or my own senses. So this guy just said that, and why? Because on the local news, on the national news, on the propaganda shows, they got somebody with an O2 sensor strapping 6 masks on their face saying, "See, it's still 99% saturated." He didn't even know what he was talking about. He's saying the air is the same under there. People have made that statement. I have read articles about how they'll find some doctor who says, "Oh, well, the CO2 particles, the molecules are way smaller than the holes in the mask, so of course they escape. It can't accumulate in there. It just doesn't work that way." When you can watch experiments of someone with fire and just pouring invisible CO2, which is more dense than all of the ambient air, out of a container, or using a CO2 fire extinguisher and extinguishing the fire, because it displaces all the oxygen. Displaces the oxygen. Where's the critical thinking? People are accepting it. And it symbolizes something. It's not just physically harmful. It's psychologically harmful. And I guess, my point of this video is just kind of share that. We're resisting. And for what reason? If I can go into a store and there's 100 people in there, and I am the only one bold enough to not wear a mask, some of those people don't want to wear it, but they feel shamed into it, and so they do. And they go home feeling bad about themselves. Some people hate on you if you don't wear a mask because they envy you. Fact. Why do overweight people sometimes hate thin people? Because they envy them. People who don't want to wear it but haven't found within themselves the strength to resist hate you for resisting. People have been re-educated into believing that conformity is morality. Morality and conformity are not the same thing. If you're a conformist, you will conform to what you're told. You will do what you're told, even when it's wrong, if you're truly a conformist. If you're a moralist, you're going to do what's right, what you know to be right, even when it goes against what you're told. And what everybody else is doing, you won't conform to it because morality matters to you. People who haven't found the strength to resist can hate your guts because you have. People watch the black screens incessantly, and the nonsense that's being put out, it's crazy. There's enough people on YouTube, even still, BitChute, their own DLive, there's enough people sharing the information about what the numbers really are, even if you go by their numbers, what the death toll really is, whether or not we need to be running around afraid to go near one another, right to assemble, right to travel, right to, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, all of these rights that are inherent, are given to us by the Creator and protected by the Constitution. We just say, oh, well, hey, I have to be safe, so I'll stay home. I have to be safe. I can't travel from state to state without quarantining for 2 weeks. My body is part of me. I'm sovereign. I'm my own self, and I have a right to me, and you don't. But we have to submit to somebody shoving something all the way back to our nasal pharynx, taking out some of our DNA, maybe leaving something behind. We have to submit to injections of who the hell knows what, really. I watched a video. Truth Stream Media, if you've not checked them out, check them out. Aaron Dykes just did an awesome video. I don't know how many people are even capable, and if they are capable, care to think as deeply as Aaron goes in this video, talking about where we're at today. And I said that to him in a comment, but he asks the question, about whether, there's got to be a solution. What's the solution? I don't see it, but there must be a solution to where we find ourselves today. Talks about if, enough people see the solution, we'll get together and we'll do something about it, right? The thing is, if you get 1,000 people, 1 million people, 1 billion people who see this solution to this problem of these corporate technocrats, these ruling class of people that decide for us what we're going to do, that enslave us. I mean, that's the fact of our life, enslaved by people. We don't have true freedom, sovereign freedom, within the systems that we find ourselves in our nation states, our corporate nations. But if you had enough people see what could be the solution, would they know it was the solution? To see the future is not for humankind. That's not for men and women. We can't see it. And so even if that 1 million people had the solution, would they know that it ultimately would be the solution? We can't know. That we can't know. Somebody who enters into a war, the French who entered, the French resistance against Germany in World War II, whatever. And again, history, who wrote it, right? But you don't know what are the results going to be, what the results are going to be when you enter into that conflict. You can't know. You can believe this and you can think that and you can feel real confident. You can think There's always going to be things that happen that you don't see coming. And, pretty often when two parties, enter into a conflict, just talking about war, it's not all about war, but make no mistake, we're in a conflict right now. A conflict against ourselves, our personal liberties. We are in a conflict. When two entities, two parties, two groups, whatever you want to say, enter into a conflict, most of them enter into the conflict believing that there's a chance for victory. Many of them believe that there will be victory. Somebody's going to lose if that conflict continues. And most of the people on that losing side didn't see it coming. We don't know. We just don't know. So what's the point then? Is it like the Borg in Star Trek: The Next Generation? Resistance is futile. Will we be assimilated? Not if we resist. And resistance might mean annihilation. If the point is resistance, if that's the point, if that's the goal, if we can wrap our hearts and our strength and our courage and our minds around that idea that resistance is the goal, then we win. We can win on a personal level. We can be victorious. And enough of us, if there's enough of us that choose to resist, whatever the cost, to resist. That's our aim. That's our goal. We don't know the future. We don't know the result of our resistance, yet we're going to do it because it matters. Because assimilation, surrender to what's wrong is not an option. Then who knows what the results could be? I'm not saying what I expect. I'm a pessimist, but I also see the possibilities. I think pessimism is natural to me. I would hope that I'm a realist more than a pessimist who can sometimes lean toward optimism. But I'm not a hopeless optimist, for sure. I'm definitely a realist, and sometimes still too much of a pessimist. But I see it, the possibilities. But I know that the battle is here. I mean, it's here. For you, it's there. And for me, it's here. Resist because resistance is right. Resist what's wrong. Not the little wrongs. And I mean, some of those little wrongs seem kind of big, you know, and we're pitted against each other. There's something bigger. What's bigger? Freedom is bigger. All of these political arguments, all of these little things that have us disconnected and disjointed and against one another, those things are really peripheral. They need to be secondary to the big issue of personal freedom. Truly. And if we'll resist, we win. And if enough of us win, who knows? What's the end? What's the solution? Well, guess what? There's a lot of truth being told to us in all of this big jumbled up mass of lies. Things are never going to go back to the way they were. That's true. The old normal, which wasn't very good, isn't going to come back. The new normal that they're steering us to is just as bad, if not worse. But that isn't going to be. And where we're going isn't necessarily determined. As a whole, maybe. Look, if there's a tsunami, like go back and watch that footage of the tsunami that hit Indonesia. If there's a tsunami, or the Japanese tsunami, right, Fukushima, if you remember the Fukushima disaster, that's what I'm saying. Nobody's going to stop that wall of ocean water coming inland, right? Does that mean that you don't try to get away? You just stand there and watch it hit you? There's a hill. You don't know how fast that water's going, but it's pretty terrifying. You're on a moped or you just got to run and you're not sure if you're going to make it. Do you run? Do you yell? Do you tell people, come on, come on? They don't see it. Some people standing on the beach watching the tide get sucked out have no idea what's coming. I probably would have been, I would have probably left, frankly. I don't know that I would have ran, but I've been like, that's not normal. I'm out of here. I'm going to go someplace high and watch what happens. But the people standing on the shore marveling at the fact that the tide just got sucked out and they can't even see it anymore. People who know, holy crap, that's a tsunami. Run, grabbing people, pulling them. They might not go. They might fall down. But do you try to wake people up? Do you try to run? You might get wiped out by the tsunami, but you're going to die anyway, so run for the high ground. Call out to everybody on the way. Come on. That's a tsunami, man. So maybe it's a tsunami. Maybe it's an overwhelming tide. But some of us can make it to high ground. Some of us can drag one or two people with us and say, come on. And the tide will come back down and we'll find a little place, where we can have community and live as free as we can with whatever is new, whatever's coming outside of it. Because if the tsunami comes and and redoes it, remakes everything, it's not going to be a good place to be. It's not going to be good to be there. And maybe they'll come looking for us if we find another place, another way. But what other way is there? Anyway, the point is, I'm just telling you, just giving you a little testimony. We're resisting. It's not easy, but we feel that the harassment that we deal with because we don't submit is way better than the shame we feel of ourselves if we walk around with a shame muzzle on our face, a diaper on our face. We can't do it. So the resistance is hard, but it's the better path, in my opinion. That's my experience. I'm sharing that with you. To resist is my goal, and I'm trying to make that my goal more and more. I don't know what's coming. I don't know. But to go along with it when I know it's wrong is not the answer. To resist, not knowing the future, if I got nothing else, I'm going to go with that. And I hope you will too. Shalom, friends.